Hey guys, quick editor's note before we get started. This was recorded mid last week. I want to say last Wednesday. So while a lot of what I'm talking about still remains true, some of the prices have gone up. So the prices don't reflect what they are right now. I think most prices that we ended up talking about actually did go up even higher than they were when we discussed on Wednesday. But most of my talking points in regards to reprints and the sustainability of the bubble in this card game still remains true. So with that said, let's jump back into the video. But quickly, let's talk card prices. Like we're seeing here, we're seeing all these really expensive SCRs, and I haven't gone through them all yet. Of course, guys, if you guys want to see me do stuff like market watch discussions and all that live, my Twitch is down in the description down below. But let's take a quick peek at TCG Player. Now we're looking at, all these different SCRs. We have Awakened Power at 3.3k. We have Apex of Power at like almost 2k. We have Brawly at basically 1k. We have Cell Xeno sitting at $430, $500. All these really, really high, ridiculous prices for these SCRs. Now, I'm not here to argue about whether these prices are reasonable or not. What I want to say is, what I really want to talk about is the sustainability of not reprinting SCRs in a card game. Also for YouTube, for y'all don't know, I have these great channel redemption points, and sometimes they make me put on this great hat. So that's why we're keeping this on for a minute. So one of the big things I want to talk about is specifically, it's not sustainable to not reprint SCRs, right? Like right now, Dragon Ball is, I think, the only card game that I know of, aside from Magic Gathering Reserve List. But Reserve List aside, because that's like a legal matter that they have to deal with. We can't never reprint cards, right? Like, this is the only game where so far we have a set of cards that look like they're just never getting reprinted. Mind you, there were a few SCRs that got reprinted, but that's a special case because they were an errata reprint. So we're looking at Gotenks got reprinted, Gogeta got reprinted to make his combo cost 1 instead of 0, cards like that. So those were very different, and for what it's worth, we're lucky that they're not the most playable ones. Now, it didn't impact the price, of course. Now you can get an SCR for really cheap, but the foil copies of those cards are still decently priced. I think Gotenks is still going anywhere between 50 to 80 bucks right now, if it's not, hasn't been going up with the rest of the SCRs. So you have to realize that, this game is not just a collector's piece, right? Like, people are not just going in here to collect cards in and out. It's a card game. Right now, cards like Son Goku the Awakened Power aren't playable, but let's say, and it's really not that hard to imagine it, that there's a Universe 7 deck that he goes really well in. Higher Mastery is a powerful strategy, and there's even more support for Goku's lineage. There is a very possible world where there's going to be a deck in not that long that reuses Son Goku the Awakened Power, and there is no way that you can justify that as okay for a deck to be at full power to cost, over $3,000 to $4,000 for one copy of a card. It's weird because as someone who owns a lot of these high rarity SCRs, like I do, and I got them for a super reasonable price when they were playable early on. And just to say, right, Son Goku the Awakened Power, I got it was $150. And even though it is nice for me to say, like, I hope they never reprint it so that I can just infinitely keep on making money with it, that'd be amazing. But the reality is, this is a card game first. And I think it's unrealistic for us to expect that these cards will never get reprinted again. So then what is this? Is this a bubble? Is this something that, like, when the cards get, and I think it's more of a when than an if, the cards get reprinted, how does that impact the price? Does that impact the price? And I think it's a good situation here where Geta mentioned right here in chat that we might have to consider rarity shifting, right? I mean, the revision packs means that they're super available, but they're not foil. The SCRs I'm talking about specifically, which means they're way more accessible. So what do we do about that? At the end of the day, I do think we're kind of in a bubble right now. I think a lot of people, not only are people just buying out stuff who actually play this game, but I think we are seeing a lot of movement from people who play Pokemon and stuff like that, trying to move their money over to Dragon Ball and take advantage of this fact that there is a bubble right now. But the reality is, our game isn't that old, a lot of card games that have these huge price tag market cards are games that are 20 plus years old. We are not one of those games. So the fact that we're seeing these astronomically high prices on some of our cards is absolutely insane. I think in the long term, you could see cards like Awakened Power and stuff like that still well be worth the price. But I think in the world of the next couple of years, I don't think that's going to be true for all that long. I think eventually the prices are going to pop down, and if ever we get the reprints, I think the prices are going to pop down significantly. But I will say, in regards to collectability, You know, the original Awakened Power, Apex, Celzino, those are very powerful, very iconic cards, especially Celzino for things like Dragon Ball Heroes and people who care about that card game. I think those are some of the things that will still hold a very valuable price. I think regardless of if this bubble ever pops, I think there is going to be some price memory here, and the cards will not go back down to a price below a certain point. So I think Celzino, like, that'll never be like a sub $200 card again. I think the Awakened Power, I don't even think that'll be a sub $1,000 card again. But in terms of playability, and I absolutely agree with Xenoswords here, I think we do need to see the reprints. 100%. The cards need to get reprinted at some point or fashion, especially cards like Celzino, which just proves set after set after set to be one of the best finishers in the game. I don't think it's reasonable for us to be the only card game in existence that does not reprint high rarity cards. Now, is there a way to do it? Absolutely. Do it like they do in the revision packs. Print them at lower rarities. And then that means that if you want the highest rarity version of an iconic card, you still have that value there. Or they could reprint it as SCRs again, but that's kind of a tough position to be in, right? So it's tough to say really one way or another what is the right way of doing it. But I think realistically, we need to become a card game that reprints more aggressively. I understand collectability is tough. I understand people want to make money within their card games. But at the end of the day, I think we're getting to a spot where playability is getting hurt because of the prices of cards. Now, I don't care if SPRs are bought out to the moon. If SPRs are $90, $100, but you can still get their SR version of the cards for $5 to $15, then I don't really care. Because at the end of the day, foiling out your deck is not a right, it's a luxury. And even then, playing a card game isn't a right in itself anyways. But accessibility should be something that we should always strive for. And I think as long as SRs, rares, uncommons, commons are accessible and always available to player bases, 95% of my concerns have been taken care of. But SCRs do need to become more accessible, and I think SCRs hitting up the prices that they are right now is a little bit too crazy for this card game. I think they could reprint, but make reprints hard to get. You know what? If they're hard to get reprints, I'm okay with that too. I don't mind that at all. But I think reprints need to happen. I think it's unreasonable for us as a community to expect that these cards are never going to get reprinted again. Dude, we need an SCR special pack like a lot of SCR comms for players. I mean, I don't know about it. You can't do something like throw every SCR in a reprint pack and then just give that to players. I think that would kill any trust anyone has in Bandai as a trading card game company. Take all your most expensive cards and throw them as a pack. I think, like, as great as for the player base as that would be, I think that would be a huge deterrent in anyone ever trying to jump into this game. Like it or not, guys, collectability is a phenomenal thing to have in a card game. It's very important for the cards to have value because it means people move into our game, give our game volume. That gives attention to our game. It makes people want to move into our game. And I think the higher visibility our game gets, all the better. And for that, we do need some collectability in our card game. But you don't want every Jamook walking around with Celzino. Exactly. Like I do, like I think that's one of those things. Make the reprints pricing for events. Honestly, absolutely. I think those, because those are high, and you could make them alt art and they would retain a huge amount of value anyways. I think, you know, event pricing and doing reprints in event pricing at alt art is amazing. Who did a video on it? I think I've been watching a lot of videos about reprints and stuff like that. It might have been Cyberman, but Cyberman did a video talking about how, was it Cyberman? I think it was Cyberman, where they talk about reprints in like card games like Yu-Gi-Oh. No, it wasn't Cyberman. It was someone else. Sensu Pop. Yeah, it was Melvin. So Melvin was talking about reprints and how was it Melvin? No. It was my boy UniXDBS. The video's right there. He talks about TP promos and the way different price structures do it. Highly recommended. Check out his videos. He does good stuff. Oh, and check out the other guys too. They're good content creators. Okay, now I feel like an asshat because I can't remember who I was watching it. But basically, talking about the different aspects of ways they can reprint this. And the way Yu-Gi-Oh does it is, hey, they downshift the rarity on some of their packs, but they also uptick the rarity on some things. So let's say before Topo was reprinted in the anniversary box, we could get an event pack alt art Topo. That would have been money if there was no foil version of Topo before in the game, right? So I think people really discredit how valuable alt art reprints of like foil cards can actually go for. Sensubin is like a $50 card, right? So I think we really need to consider that there are ways for us to make money in this card game if we really wanted to. And like there is value in that kind of stuff without having to be like tournament packs that are worth $100. it's not just ridiculous that there's $1,000 cards. It's $1,000 cards that you can only have one of, which I think is ridiculous. A lot of other games you can have four of, and they do not hit the ridiculous prices that SCRs hit for our card game. Just want to put that out there. It's a little crazy, but here's the thing. I think if you're in this just for the market aspect and you really want your money, I think you sell within the next month or two. I think this is a bubble. I don't think this will last. If you don't need the money, just hold and see where it goes, I guess. That's what I'm doing. I'm not selling my cards. Like, I could sell my Awakened Power, but screw it. I'm just going to keep it because I might just play it someday. And I prefer actually playing a card than having to shell out thousands to pay for it to buy it again later, right? You know, I do not want to have to go through another Celzino situation. So I think if you're just in it to, like, if you just happen to have the cards but you don't need the money, I guess hold or sell if you want the money. But I think this is a bubble. I think eventually it will pop. I do think it will. So I think if you're out to make money, I'd suggest selling your stuff. And mind you, this is not financial advice. Do what seems right to you. But based on what I'm seeing, I think this can go on for a few more months, and then probably the prices are going to go back down. Especially since I can totally see Bandai just reprinting some of these cards. With that said, guys, that was our quick discussion. You want to watch more discussions like that? Of course, like I said, links will be in Twitch description down below. What do you guys think about the reprints? Do you guys think they should never reprint these cards? Should they reprint these cards? And if so, what kind of impact do you guys foresee going in the future? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you like it. Hey, if you dislike it, thumbs down works too. If you want to catch more of my videos, subscribe button's down in the corner. With that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.